Hello and welcome to. I'm gonna have to say it again in 2024. The first in a new series, kind of, not really. I'm just branding stuff in a way that I find personally pleasing. So bear with me. Welcome to Blu-ray Impressions. Now, just for anyone the uninitiated, on my channel you're gonna have different types of videos talking about Blu-rays. Blu-ray review, that's when you know if it's called Blu-ray review, you know I'm going in depth. You know that I'm going to be showing you lots of clips from the film. I'm going to be talking about the extras, the artwork, the booklet, the full shebang, an in-depth video. Blu-ray impressions, I will still be talking about the film, the extras, and the Blu-ray, but I won't be going into such exhaustive detail as I tend to do almost unwillingly. And I've done these, last year too in 2023, but I'm just branding it now so that you know what you're getting with every video that you watch, and so you don't come in with unrealistic expectations. I had a few people saying you should mark these videos more clearly, so an attempt to do that. Blu-ray impressions, a new outlook for 2024. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about 5 films across 3 separate releases from Eureka Entertainment. These came out in December 2023, and the first one I'm going to talk about came out in November 2023. So Eureka ended the year of 2023 with a bang as far as I'm concerned. I absolutely loved all 3 of these releases and just capped off an amazing year, which I want to celebrate in a unique way, which I'm hoping to do at the end of the month of January. So they're going to be a big kind of Eureka 2023 kind of recap and award show. So watch this space. A bit more of a unique way to kind of do a look back instead of doing just a top 10 kind of thing. Anyway, first up, we're going to talk about Heroes and Villains, 3 films starring Jet Li. I really didn't know what to expect from this one. Going into it, it was a bit like, I haven't really seen a lot of Jet Li films, and these are they're not the typical. Well, that's the thing, because for me, growing up, typically a Jet Li film was a modern action movie, but then I kind of learned that, through things like Once Upon a Time in China and so on, that was kind of his bread and butter, and that was what made him a huge star in Hong Kong, was playing Wong Fei Hung, and I forget the other character's name, but he was doing very well for himself with kind of the long braided hairstyle and that kind of period film. And then as the 90s wore on, he started doing modern day films to mixed kind of levels of success. And this film really gathers together 3 of those films, which are My Father is a Hero, or The Enforcer, Dr. Y in the Scripture with No Words, and Hitman, or Contract Killer. A lot of alternate titles floating around, but this Blu-ray release features all 3 films on 3 separate discs, which is great. And they're all so different, and I honestly loved all 3 of them to varying degrees, of course, but I really was quite taken with all 3 of these films. I was not expecting to. I thought there's going to be like dud in the pack, surely. And there's most people who I've seen who talk about this release online, they say, oh, they're not particularly good Jet Li films, or that one's a rubbish one, that one's okay. I loved all 3 of them. So the first one, which you can see on the inside here, is My Father is a Hero. Now, I had no idea that this starred the great Anita Mui, who is just such a movie star. I absolutely love her. I've only seen her in a few films like Drunken Master 2, Rumble in the Bronx. That's pretty much it, and I just think she's incredible. I want to see everything she's done now. And she was great in the film. Jet Li was great in the film. My Father is a Hero is about this undercover cop played by Jet Li who goes from mainland China to Hong Kong to infiltrate this drug. Are they a drug gang? They're a crime gang. We'll call them a crime gang. He has to infiltrate this kind of nefarious crime gang in Hong Kong. But the woman who is kind of trying to find out who Jet Li is, played by Anita Mui, she travels back to China to try and find him, finds his son, and brings his son back to Hong Kong. And so now you have this kind of very precarious situation in which Jet Li has to kind of pretend that he doesn't know who this young boy is, knowing very well it's his son, and his son is being put in very dangerous circumstances. And so it's a melodramatic film. It's got great action, and there's some humor in there I really enjoyed, but I just really connected to that father-son relationship. And it really touched me, and I really was, and the kid was great. The kid was like from the acting perspective, some of the martial arts stuff. They talk in the commentary about how he wasn't very good, or that they had to use a lot of doubles. But I thought the stuff that you see the kid do in the movie was really, really good, and I just, it didn't all work perfectly for me, especially maybe the very ending of the film. But I watched it twice because I told Connie, I said, oh, that woman from Drunken Master 2 is in this. You should watch it with me. And she's like, oh, okay, yeah, maybe. And once she heard that Anita Mu was in it, she gave it a look. And then yeah, watched it twice, loved it. For me, it's going to be a Hong Kong favorite, I think. The next one is Dr. Y in the Scripture with No Words. So this is a very interesting film because it has two versions. So the original Hong Kong version was not how they intended it to be. So Jet Li plays an adventurer called, well, the Adventure King, kind of an Indiana Jones type in 1930s China, and it's about this kind of MacGuffin, the scripture with no word. I just love the concept of that. It's a scripture with no words. I just thought it was kind of cool. And so it's a big kind of not globe trotting, but there's an adventure element in terms of going to like nightclubs, deserts, flying on a plane, and kind of exotic situations as opposed to different locations because it's still in the same country, but has that Indiana Jones vibe to it. But because of a real life event in which a warehouse burnt down, no, not even a warehouse, I guess it must have been a studio building, because sets that they had built for the film and spent millions of Hong Kong dollars on was destroyed, and so they lost a lot of the stuff they've been building for it. And apparently also, depending on whose story you believe in some of the extras, because there seems to be differing claims or kind of different versions of events, it seems like some of the film was destroyed too. So to salvage this, they included this modern day meta narrative wraparound where Jet Li also plays this struggling author who works in an office and is trying to crank out the 95th Adventure King novel. And he's got writer's block because he's going through a divorce with his wife, played by Rosamund Kwan, who also appears in this 1930s fantasy story, this kind of action epic. And so you get to see how that story is molded by this frustrated author. I really enjoyed that aspect. I thought it was really cool. And yeah, maybe it's not perfectly balanced, but I actually really enjoyed the kind of the switching between the two different movies in a sense. But if that kind of thing puts you off, Eureka have included the international version, as it's called, which is solely takes place in the 1930s and is just a straight up fantasy action adventure film with Jet Li playing the Adventure King as if he's a real living, breathing character, not kind of a fictitious character in a novel, as recognized by the film in a meta narrative. So you get the kind of best of both worlds. I will say the only thing with the international cut is that they have extended scenes and deleted scenes, which are in standard definition. What I really love is that Eureka has kept the rest of the film in high definition. So it looks really good for the most part. And I actually really enjoyed watching that version too. And there's a lot of differences. I've already filmed my in-depth review of this one, and I talk a lot about all the things that I noticed that were different in terms of dialogue and all that kind of stuff, and scenes, characters. So I think it's a really interesting deep dive. For me, I really enjoyed talking about all the different versions, well, not all the different versions, but all the different things between the two different versions, I should say. The third film is called Hitman. And this one, I just felt like this was going to be the one that was just a bit underwhelming, because My Father is a Hero has the big emotional hook of the father-son relationship, and then Dr. Y in the Scripture with No Words has this just big. I mean, some of the action set pieces in the Dr. Y movie, I just have to say, Jet Li crashes a train through multiple buildings, and it's mental. Like, it's absolutely mental. It's the kind of stuff I love these movies for, right? But Hitman, I wasn't quite. This premise didn't seem as interesting. It's about this Japanese yakuza boss who gets murdered. There's a hit gets put out on him, and an assassin shows up at the beginning of the movie, and he says to the assassin, "You do know that if you kill me, I've set in place a $100 million bounty. So if you kill me now, everyone in the world's going to be after you. You're signing your own death warrant if you do this." And he kills him anyway. So now it's about the chase is on to find this killer of the kind of the big Japanese yakuza boss, and his grandson becomes sort of a villain in the film, as he's the one who's going to kind of uphold the honor of his grandfather, and in a very striking fashion, he kind of imbibes his grandfather's ashes. It's a very striking sequence. And Jet Li plays a guy who's looking for work and is kind of trying to get into the Hitman game. And so he eventually comes across this character played by Eric Chang, who I've never seen the guy before, but I think he's incredible. He's just such a funny character. and I'm going to be your manager, and he brings Jet Li in, and he's gonna get him the contract on this $100 million bounty. The only problem is that Jet Li has tried to kind of become an assassin, but every time he tries to go and kill someone, he ends up helping them because they're going through problems. So, what I loved about the film is that I wasn't sure. I felt like there is a mystery, and the central mystery really is, who is this, the hitman from the beginning of the movie, and is that this kind of legendary figure who's kind of like the ultimate assassin. They give him a name in the film, I've forgotten already, like the Angel of Death or something like that. But he's this assassin who doesn't even take pay. He does it because he believes in doling out justice. So he'll take jobs that are people and targets who he believes morally deserve to die. So my feeling is Jet Li this guy? And he just seems inept because he's playing a game. Is it someone else? Is it someone we know? Is it someone we don't? Is it the grandson? There's so many different options. But I really just love the comedic kind of banter between Jet Li and Eric Chang, and the manager kind of client hitman kind of situation going on there. And the other characters I thought were really good, and I'll do a full review of this one too, because I've already done 2 for the other ones, and so I may as well round out the set. So you'll be seeing 3 videos of me talking about these films in depth and talking about all the extras, which I really enjoyed. There's commentaries on all of the films. There's also a commentary on the international cut of Dr. Y. So this release is stacked. I loved it. And Hitman, not a lot of action in it, but that was fine for me. I really just enjoyed the story, the humor, and I was really invested. So this for me was an absolute winner of a release. I just thought it was fantastic. So next up, we have another Hong Kong film, and I was quite intrigued by this one because it stars 2 people who were in a film I really enjoyed from last year as well, which is Rich and Famous, about these 2 guys who worked their way up in the kind of the triad business, and they kind of get involved in organized crime. And the 2 actors are Andy Lau and Alan Tam, and in this film, Casino Raiders, they play 2 guys who, well, actually, I should say that in Rich and Famous, it's Andy Lau and another actor, another character. But Alan Tam is more of a side character in Rich and Famous, but he's also trying to work his way up in the crime business. But, so there's already, for me, an on-screen rapport between Andy Lau and Alan Tam. And so to see it explored in a more fully fledged fashion, and this film, Casino Raiders, where they're both the 2 lead characters, was really cool because I really like both actors, particularly Andy Lau, who, in the commentary they say that Andy Lau is this is the typical type of character he'd play, but maybe I've just got lucky with the films I've seen him in, because I thought that he brought something different to this. I loved his kind of cockiness, his kind of really like, there's a kind of braggadocious feeling you get from this guy who kind of talks about how he's like the fastest hand in Asia. He's just a crack kind of a crack. Well, does that work really? Kind of a crack poker player, which doesn't really work. What's that? Where's that phrase come from? He's a crack shot, I guess. I don't know, but a crack poker player just sounds like someone who takes a lot of crack before they play poker, which isn't the case. I should clarify. But he's an ace. That's the best way to get it. He's an ace poker player and knows all the tricks of the trade. And he's a swindler, and that's kind of his life. And the film opens with him leaving prison and meeting back up again with his friend, played by Alan Tam. And they go off to San Francisco. It's kind of an international movie, and they go on locations. There's a bit of money put behind this one. And they figure out kind of this scam that's being run by the Japanese in this San Francisco. Is it San Francisco? It's Lake Tahoe. Is that near San Francisco? I think it is. Either way, Lake Tahoe was the location, I'm pretty sure, where they went. But they because they're experts at swindling, they fly over, they figure out the scam. But now they're kind of marked men, and but I love the kind of brotherhood between them and kind of the liveliness, and there's a woman who gets involved and they both have their eye on her and stuff, and that's very sweet. And it's, again, melodramatic, but it was more serious than I was expecting. Again, not a whole lot of action. And I should say that with the film Hitman with Jet Li, there's some great fight scenes in it, especially towards the end. But in this one, the action is quite light, but super impactful at really really precise moments, I felt. And it all leads, of course, to a high stakes poker game at the end, which is just such an incredible sequence and really reminded me of. In fact, I'm not going to say what film it right. It reminds me of one of the best films ever made, right? A classic film that involves, the swindle, shall we say. But I don't want to say it is, 'cause I don't want to give away too much about where this film plays out. But it really surprised me and shocked me where it does go. It kind of makes the typical story beats that you'd expect from a film like this, and then just actually pulls through on things that you think are just going to get teased. And so for me, it took the high stakes element of the story and actually kind of pushed it all into the middle of the table. And you thought, holy fuck, okay, this is actually going in that kind of direction. I'm being very vague, I apologize, but I was just really entertained, surprised, and kind of shocked by how far this film took it in terms of doing things differently. And for that, I think it's a great film. I really love this one, Casino Raiders. So this one has two commentaries and what looks like a really fun feature. I haven't watched it yet, with Mike Leader and Arna Venema talking about the gambling craze, because this I believe started the whole gambling subgenre craze in Hong Kong, and this came out in like 1989. And then you had God of Gamblers, and then I think Stephen Chow did one, and so on and so on. So I'm looking forward to kind of finishing off the extras and doing my full review of this one, because I want to commit to doing full in-depth Blu-ray reviews for all Eureka releases from 2023. And finally, we have a film I was really looking forward to, and I'm still dying to get into like the extras on this one, especially the commentary by Tom Mes. This is The Fall of Ako Castle. So this is a film from 1978, directed by Kinji Fukasaku. 159 minutes. This is an epic, and it is based on the 47 Ronin story, which, if you're unaware, is about the Asano clan back in feudal era Japan, 1700s, I believe it was set. And this kind of, I think he's a daimyo, a kind of lord of a certain area. He goes to Edo, and in the palace, he is slighted by a high-ranking official and embarrassed. And instead of just eating shit in that kind of situation, that highly charged kind of political situation, he tries to kill this high-ranking official and fails. And because of this, of course, he is sentenced to death, and he has to commit harikiri, seppuku, and he loses his life. And now the Asano clan is left without their lord. And so they decide, with the leadership of kind of the second in command, Oishi, I believe his name is, yes, Oishi, that they're going to take revenge, and they're going to commit treason. They're going to go against the government, and they're going to seek revenge on the man who caused this dispute, to begin with. So the 47 Ronin refers to the attack on this household and the man who they believe is responsible for kind of destroying their clan. So I don't believe this film is like historically accurate down to the letter. I haven't gone into the commentary yet, so I'm sure that will enlighten me hugely, because when this film was announced and I knew that it was like a Japanese historical kind of set movie, I thought, oh wow, I really hope Tom Mes does a commentary, because I really loved his commentary on Samurai Reincarnation, where he talks a lot, even though that's a fantasy film, he talks a lot about the real life historical stuff in Japan, which I found fascinating. So I can't wait to listen to that, find out all those details. But for me, this film suffers a little bit in the middle from, there's so many characters, there's so much going on, and I was a little confused as to where we were going. The middle seemed to lag a little bit, but once the fuller story came into picture by the end, I understood where it was going, and it was just being more true to the actual story, in which the revenge is kind of, the build up to it is quite long. It's not like they decide, right, we're going to take revenge, and they storm the castle. Figuratively speaking, they decide they're going to take revenge, and then they don't do anything for a year. And so that has to get filled out in the story, and I was kind of thinking, oh, when's it going to start, So I'm actually intrigued to, whenever I rewatch this again, knowing the fuller story and even getting more context from the commentary, I might enjoy this film even more. But I really enjoyed the performances, the production design in this, the sets, the costumes. I mean, it feels like a very set-heavy film, Not a lot of location stuff, but it felt really authentic, and I just was super drawn into this one. I really enjoyed the performances. Sonny Chiba plays a really badass samurai in this, and you have Toshiro Mifune making a great cameo. He's not in it, not in it for very long, like two short sequences, but that was fun. And I really like the main performance from. See, he's credited in this film. It doesn't even say actually. Kinosuke, I think it's Yorozua or something. Whereas in another film that they released last year, he's credited as Kinosuke Nakamura. In fact, let me just pull this out here and see if I can find what he's called in this one. I don't, it's just one of those weird things where I don't know if the guy changed his name or something. And then you have Tetsuro Tamba. The cast is, just fantastic. It's and even all the people who I wasn't familiar with, I thought did a great job. So in the booklet here, I'm assuming we have a cast listing. Yes. Okay. So yes, Kinosuke Yorozua. So yeah, I do like how Toshiro Mifune is credited like near the top, and is even like one of the first actors named on the back of the Blu-ray. I understand why they would market it that way, but he really is an incredibly minor part of the film. I also really love this inside artwork there. Really cool. But yeah, this one, 1978. I love the slipcover design too. This is a really gorgeous piece by Chris Malbon. So really, really nice slipcover. And do you know what? I would have loved another hour with this. Honestly, I would have loved a proper Seven Samurai style deep dive. But I do feel like it is a deep dive. It is a very long film that takes its time, and yeah, I was thoroughly gripped. Thought it was great. So that is the end of Eureka's 2023 slate of releases, and my thoughts on them. Kind of. I have more reviews to come. I think about 6 or 7 in-depth reviews filmed. It's just finding the time to gather all the clips and edit them. My review for Valley Girl was about an hour and 20 minutes long because there's like 10 hours of extras. So there's just so much I'm backlogged with, not backlocked. Although it feels like I'm backlocked because it's almost like I can't get in and just finish everything, and I need a secret key to give me more time to get. What an analogy that was! Pulled out of the bottom of my ass. Bottom of my ass. That's no. I lost it. I fucked it at the end. Anyway, that was my thoughts on those 3 great releases. I really just just it's so different as well. I enjoyed all 5 of these films in very different ways. There's lots of different, kind of versions of entertainment that I got from these movies. And in general, what a year from Eureka. And I'm looking forward to talking about that a little bit more in future videos and kind of doing a look back. A couple of different videos I've got planned, including the awards video, as I mentioned. And I'm going to try and do a montage video of all, I think there's 40 films that they released last year. So I'm going to try and do a fun little montage video with clips from every film. We'll see how that goes. I have very lofty ideas for that, and you'll hear more about that and see more about that if you follow my videos. And that is pretty much it. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you thought of these 3 releases, these 5 films, if you've seen them. And that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.